Log in to KofiPaisaTV.com and get Spears of the Mossy Volume 1 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, from Spears the Pen Volume 2 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, Spiritual Combat Volume 3 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, One Night Before Bed by Any Harek Shawn Calfunny, Kalawa's Trip to the Motherland by Kofi Paisa, From Cocaine to Consciousness by Any Harek Shawn Calfunny, As I Learn, We All Learn by Kofi Paisa. Also, if you want fresh merch, go to our online store, Family Connect Apparel, and get all the brands. Also, get our 54 deck of quiz and educational cards available now on KofiPaisaTV.com.
ETM Hotel, Rennie Shawn. Welcome in peace. My name is Shawn. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning into Science with Shawn. Please like the show, share the show, tell a friend to tell a friend. Get in the building, people. This is the follow-up to a discussion I had with Keidi Awadu. I'm going to slow it down and present a little bit more information that actually I did not get to in the discussion due to a restraint and, a lack of time. Being that we both had a certain amount of time, and I'll get into that in a minute, I kind of limited what I wanted to point for point discuss. I really didn't want to deal with any of his information, to be honest. That's why I kind of try to early on close the door on herbs and the discussion that we actually had in food. As we know that, there's no vegetable, fruit, or herb that exists right now that can stop or prevent serious disease, serious COVID-19 disease, potential death. So, with that being said, man, I appreciate everybody who is in the panel. In the chat right now, and those who will catch the preview. This is going to be a very educational bill. I know you are working right now. Some of you are working from home. Some of you are just tuned in on your headset. Whatever the case may be, I appreciate you tuning in. For those of you who will watch this presentation, don't forget that our products and merch store links are in the description of this particular video. And with that being said, shout out to Keena, Sister Juju, Brother Zane, Nunu. I see Kofi is in the building trying to troll, but he fails again. Yep, he fails again. Say pseudo. Let's see if you can pronounce it. But again, I appreciate everybody that has popped on. Hopefully a few more people will be up for, jumping in discussion. I'm going to go ahead and, get it cracking. It's actually a little time here. I know Kofi is probably trying to share the show, maybe. You never know. Appreciate that. Garfield. Oh, yeah. I think, yeah. Garfield still alive, I think. Going in, so I don't know. I might not be as interesting as everybody like to beat up on, religion and so forth. So let's see what we can muster up in this time, and hopefully people will catch the preview. What up, Chris? Hotel Sin. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen real quick. And we'll get into this. Yeah, man. Let my keynote pull up. We're gonna get it cracking. All right, let's get to the real homework. So I titled this The Cure Part 2 because if you remember, 2 years ago I did The Cure Part 1 on Dagger Squad channel. It was the first of a few presentations I did regarding vaccines and vaccine science, and I talked about how vaccines work. Also talked about, the NVICP, the compensation program, and things of that nature that people really wasn't privy to, or probably was and just ignored it. In this discussion, we're going to take it a little bit further. I do see a few more people popping in. I see Keisha's in the building, Sister Benita. Peace to both of you too. And again, Chris, again, I see you. It's a few people that probably will never say anything, but they are tuned in. I appreciate you too. Don't forget to like the show, share the show, and let's get some people in the building, ladies and gentlemen. So I wanted to full screen that real quick so y'all can get a real good glimpse of what's going on. Chama Mboka. Shout out to all my West Africans out there. All right, so this is the vaccine discussion part 2. All right, so introduction. Today we will set out to answer research questions for the discussion topic that have been presented by Dr. Oyama. This discussion is being held by Chef. He took the chief away and called himself Chef Keidi Awadu and myself. We each have 10 minutes to answer each question, and then at the end we may question each other's information. In this lecture, I divided the research questions in part and deliberately placed the sources for each section following the conclusion. Trying to give you an example of my method here. Due to time restraints within the discussion, my arguments are sourced based on reliable data from clinical trials, top peer-reviewed journals in the field of epidemiology, immunology, and virology. The images that are also used in this presentation come from research done by experts in their respective fields regarding the impact of COVID-19 on our bodies. My hypothesis. I am of the belief that people do not understand just how safe vaccines are based on medical mistrust from past experiences. Tuskegee, for instance, is prominent in every argument, and it is usually based on a myth propagated by Blackologists who promote Tuskegee as an experiment that gave Black men syphilis. Then you have Henrietta Lacks dilemma, where unknowingly doctors were treating cervical cancer ended up saving her cells, which helped save lives later. It's not just these two previous experiences, it's others where racist whites would always use Blacks to help them advance science based on our abilities to withstand pain. So Blacks in our history of medicine is very much fragile. These experiences have made us less susceptible to pay attention to science in the field of medicine. This has placed a heavy burden on Blacks, especially in the middle of a pandemic. We know very little about the immune system, and now New Age herbalists tout certain foods and herbs as solutions to novel viruses that supposedly can create an immune response to prevent infection and the spread of a novel disease or potential cure that disease. Because of our own ignorance, we did not pay attention to the advancements in technology regarding vaccine science, and therefore we deem it as usual and experimental. Maybe this has set us back over 150 years or more, and not properly understanding that virus actually are and how vaccines work has dampened our chances of achieving immunity in the middle of a pandemic. Question 1, are vaccines safe? We're going to deal with microbes, an intro to microbes, what are viruses, what are vaccines safe, and the sources. Microbes. For about 3 billion years, all of evolution involved bacteria, single-cell organisms without a nucleus. Inexorably, over a period of eons, nearly incomprehensible to the human temporal context, these microbes combined and evolved into all of the plant and animal life forms that have ever existed on Earth. Without going into all the complex biochemistry of diversity, the important thing for us to remember is that microbes were here before us. have co-evolved with us while we humans occupy the earth and will be here after we are gone. In our superior human mindset, we think of our species as being largely in control. But to understand the true biologic sense of the power of microbes, we must never forget that we are the ones trying to anticipate and respond to their evolution, not the other way around. We need many of the current microbes to survive, but some can kill us. Viruses is a small collection of genetic code, either DNA or RNA, surrounded by a protein coat. A virus cannot replicate alone. Viruses must infect cells and use components of the host cell to make copies of themselves. Often, they kill the host cell in the process and cause damage to the host organism. See, viruses have been found everywhere on Earth. Researchers estimate that viruses outnumber bacteria by 10 to 1. Because viruses don't have the same components as bacteria, they cannot be killed by antibiotics. Only antiviral medications or vaccines can eliminate or reduce the severity of viral disease, including AIDS, Covid19, measles, and smallpox. We live and prosper in a literal cloud of viruses. Viruses affect every living thing on the planet. Nothing can escape a virus. It's a quote from Vincent Racanelli. Viruses are the smallest of the microbes. They are said to be so small that 500 million rhinoviruses, which causes the common cold, could fit on the head of a pin. They are unique because they are only alive and able to multiply inside the cell of the other living things. The cell they multiply in is called the host cell. They existed 3.5 billion years before human evolved on Earth. They're neither dead nor alive. Their genetic material is embedded in our DNA, constituting close to 10% of the human genome. They can attack most forms of life on our planet, from bacteria to plants to animals. And yet, if it wasn't for them, humans might never exist. First, their total is staggering. It is estimated that there are 10 viruses for every bacterium on Earth. Curtis Soto from University of British Columbia in Vancouver compared the number of viruses in the oceans alone to the number of stars in the universe, which is estimated to be 10 to the 23rd power. Viruses outnumber stars by a factor of 10 million. And you have different types of viruses like RNA viruses, which are capsid. You have a capsid glycoprotein DNA virus. You have an RNA capsid glycoprotein virus. And then you have the head of a DNA tail sheath and tail fiber virus. So you have like I read from the top, you have the helical viruses, polyhedral viruses, spherical viruses, and complex viruses. Viruses are like hijackers. They invade living normal cells and use those cells to multiply and produce other viruses like themselves. This can kill, damage, or change the cells and make you sick. Different viruses attack certain cells in your body, such as your liver, respiratory system, or blood. When you get a virus, you may not always get sick from it. Your immune system may be able to fight it off. For most viral infections, treatments can only help with symptoms while you wait for your immune system to fight off the virus. Antibiotics do not work for viral infections. There are antiviral medicines to treat some viral infections. Vaccines can help prevent you from getting viral diseases, The return on investment in global health is tremendous, and the biggest bang for the buck comes from vaccines. Vaccines are among the most successful and cost-effective health investments in history. So what are vaccines? A vaccine stimulates your immune system to produce antibodies exactly like it would if you were exposed to the disease. After getting vaccinated, you develop immunity to that disease without having to get the disease first. Different than most medicines that treat or cure diseases, vaccines prevent you from getting sick with the disease in the first place. A vaccine is made from a very small amount of a weak or dead germ that can cause disease, for example, viruses, bacteria, or toxins. It prepares your body to fight the disease faster and more effectively so you won't get sick. Vaccines are a product given orally, nasally, or by injection to prevent people from acquiring specific diseases. They protect others by limiting the spread of disease. All vaccines are fully tested before being approved for use by the FDA. Vaccines have eradicated diseases like polio, whooping cough, MMR, tetanus, hepatitis A and B, rotavirus, chickenpox, and more. Vaccines are the most effective way to prevent infection diseases. Decades of research show that vaccines prevent diseases. Decades. An overwhelming number of studies also show that they are safe and effective. Each ingredient in the vaccine serves a specific purpose. For example, vaccine ingredients may help provide immunity protection against a specific disease and then help keep the vaccine safe and long-lasting. Here's the sources for the first part. You can pause the video, screenshot it, and progress. It's your second round of sources. I'm slowing it down for a reason because I want people to be able to capture and cross-reference the sources. Question number 2. Should we question the safety of the rapidly prepared COVID-19 vaccine? Oh, it's going to get interesting because this ain't what y'all seen all the way through last time. Outline: history of vaccine, first generation, second generation, third generation vaccines, preclinical trial data from Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, and Pfizer. Should we question the safety of the rapidly prepared COVID-19 is the research question. And this, all right, first generation vaccines, okay? Is an example of a first generation vaccine. In microbiology, inoculation is defined as introducing microorganisms into a culture where they can grow and reproduce. More generally, it can also be defined as introducing a certain substance into another substance. This would be first generation. Inoculation. In the early 1700s, about a century before Edward Jenner conceived the idea of smallpox vaccine based on a cowpox virus. Smallpox was going through New England and other American colonies. In Massachusetts, colonists there saw smallpox arrive with cargo ships to Boston over and over again. There was not much the authorities could do beyond imposing quarantines and treating the sick. This changed in 1721 thanks to the wisdom passed on from Onesimus, an African slave sold to Cotton Mather, an influential minister in Boston. Second generation vaccines. Subunit vaccines like inactivated whole cell vaccines do not contain live components of the pathogen. They differ from inactivated whole cell vaccines by containing the only antigen parts of the pathogen. These parts are necessary to elicit a protective immune response. Instead of the complete pathogen, parts are used for the production of these kinds of vaccines. Subunit vaccines have one or more protein, peptide, or polysaccharide, which are naturally found in the pathogenic structure. In the early stages of vaccine development, it took approximately 26 years to develop HPV vaccine, rotavirus 25 years, and all other known vaccines 10 to 15 years. Most recently, vaccine development has reduced that amount between 2 to 5 years. And now we have third generation vaccines. Immunogenic potential administration of a plasmid containing a gene encoding the antigen known as genetic vaccines is categorized as third generation vaccines and is a valuable method, which has been considered by researchers since the beginning of the 1990s. Remember that date, the 1990s. Different names have been given for this kind of vaccines, such as DNA vaccines, RNA vaccines, and plasmid vaccines. So let's deal with the preclinical trials regarding the COVID-19 vaccine, Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. There's been many speculated questions that steps were skipped in order to put out this vaccine. Most people don't trust it because they're unaware of the preclinical trial data. They're saying, hey, where was the animal trials? Where was the month-to-month trials? Where was this? Where was that? It goes on and on and on. However, on the screen, I have the Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson preclinical trial data. All right? In the very first word, you'll see something familiar. Immunization of non-human primates. That's from Pfizer. All right? So non-human primates received the vaccine. Okay? Moderna. Non-human primates received 10 or 100 UG of mRNA 1273. Johnson & Johnson. All right. I can't even say it. Investigational vaccine candidate AD26CO2 has prevented severe clinical disease in serum golden hamsters upon challenge with SARS-CoV-2. All right. This was also published in the Journal of Nature. So here we see the early signs of animal testing, these preclinical trials. If I go further into the trials and put more information on the screen, you will start to see also they had a pseudovirus neutralizing antibodies in mice. They started with mice. They got to, non-human primates. They got to hamsters. And then they began to run concurrent trials. So no, nothing was skipped. Here's your clinical trial data. Now, so should we question the safety of the vaccine rapidly prepared COVID-19 vaccine? See, many traditional vaccines put a weakened or inactivated germ or virus into your body and trigger an immune response. However, mRNA vaccines are different. Instead, they teach your cells how to make a small, harmless piece of the virus to trigger an immune response inside our bodies. Traditional vaccines typically require growing large amounts of infectious viruses and inactivating them, a process that can take weeks or months. However, mRNA vaccines can be quickly designed, tested, and mass produced. mRNA vaccines are also safe because they do not contain the live virus. Remember, we complained about being vaccinated and getting, we don't want no poison in our body. All right, they removed the poison, now what? The mRNA vaccines for COVID-19 are injected into the muscle of your upper arm. Once the mRNA is inside your body, your muscle cells will follow the genetic instructions that tell them how to make the spike protein, a small, harmless piece of the COVID-19 vaccine virus. Now, the spike protein does not cause infection or cause people to become sick from COVID-19. After the spike protein is made, your immune system will recognize that it doesn't belong there. As a result, your immune system will begin making T cell and antibodies that recognize the spike protein. This process teaches your body how to recognize and destroy the virus if you ever infected with COVID-19, if you ever are infected with COVID-19 in the future. Now, Pfizer and BioNTech, Moderna are about 94 to 95% effective in preventing COVID-19 infections. More data will become available as time goes on. And as more people are vaccinated, Johnson & Johnson vaccine is 66 infectious after 14 days and 86% infectious after 28. mRNA vaccines have 3 ingredients: fat, sugars, and salts. There's a photo everybody loves so much. Peace Concrete. Peace PB, Pure. I see you, Google Scholar LB. Indonesia 5,000 piece. The number one pseudo is in the building. Should we question the safety of the rapidly prepared COVID-19 vaccine? No. We should not question the safety of the vaccine because science has shown that our medicine has to be evolutionary minded due to our history of watching how viruses adapt and mutate over time. In recent news, we have learned of a potential 4 different variants of COVID-19 existing after the virus is spread throughout the world. However, this vaccine has went through the same rigorous steps as other vaccines in history. The only difference is technology has allowed us an opportunity to map out the genetic structure of the virus, which provided a pathway of prevention in the middle of a global pandemic. Now remember, we skipped steps, is what they claimed, but we didn't skip steps. Sources. This last page right here is all your clinical data, preclinical trial data, sources right here. I specifically placed them just like this, just so that you'll have, you know exactly what slide it was. I don't know what minute mark this is in the video, but there you go. Question number 3, is there an alternative to the vaccines? See, initially I should have started here because in order to understand vaccines, you have to understand the immune system. So we'll talk about the immune system, herd immunity, natural immunity, previous pandemics. Is there an alternative? Source up. The immune system is the body's defense system against infection. Humans possess 3 types of immunity: innate, born with it; adaptive, develops over time; and passive immunity, borrowed. The immune system takes a while to develop immunity, and that is why vaccines can help. The immune system is made up of special organ cells and chemicals that fight off infection, microbes. The main parts of the immune system are white blood cells, antibodies, and the complement system. Now, the lymphatic system, the spleen, thymus, and bone marrow all make it up. Your immune system works to root out germs and other invaders that have no business in your body. For example, if you inhale a cold virus through your nose, your immune system targets that virus and either stops it in its tracks or primes you to recover. Stops it in its tracks or primes you to recover. It takes time to get over an infection, and sometimes you need medicine to help. But the immune system is the cornerstone of a prevention and recovery. Rest can strengthen your immune system. Eating healthy can strengthen your immune system. Dietary products can strengthen your immune system. Exercise daily can strengthen your immune system. Being sanitary can protect your immune system. Your immune system can also be weakened by smoking, drinking, and poor nutrition. AIDS, HIV, which causes AIDS, is an acquired viral infection that destroys important white blood cells and weakens the immune system. People with HIV/AIDS become seriously ill with infection that most people can't fight off. When your immune system fails completely, you're left without any natural protection against illness. This leaves you open to opportunistic infection, sickness that can even come from things that ordinarily wouldn't harm you. When most of the population isn't immune to an infectious disease that provides indirect protection of herd immunity, also called herd protection. To those who are not immune to the disease, for example, if 80% of the population is immune to a virus, 4 out of every 5 people who encounter someone with the disease won't get sick and won't spread the disease any further. In this way, the spread of infectious disease is kept under control. Depending on how contagious an infection is, usually 50 to 90% of a population needs immunity to achieve herd immunity. So in order to achieve herd immunity, 5.25 billion, which would be 80% of our global population, would need to be infected. SARS-CoV-2, all variants. I'm going to say that again. In order to achieve herd immunity, 5.275 billion people on planet Earth will need to be infected with all variants of SARS-CoV-2/COVID-19. I'm going to say it one more time. In order for us to achieve herd immunity, 5.275 billion people would need to be infected with the UK variant, the Brazilian variant, the UK variant, the initial first variant out of China, and I believe we have a not much data has existed yet, but they are saying that there's a California variant. So instead of 4, you would need to be infected with all 5 variants. Why? Because we don't, each variant may be more transmissible, but we don't know if it, if it will increase infection. If one of these variants will increase infection, or the potential of increased infection, rather severe or potential death. But if 5.275 billion people became infected, then you're going to increase your death total by tens of millions of people globally. The first line of defense against non-self pathogens is the innate or non-specific immune response. The innate immune response consists of physical, chemical, and cellular defense against pathogens. The main purpose of the innate immune response is to immediately prevent the spread of movement of foreign pathogens throughout the body. Natural immunity requires one to become infected naturally and then allow your immune system to build its own antibodies, which take time. Currently, 3 new variants of the virus SARS-CoV-2 that causes coronavirus disease 2019 are creating concern. These variants seem to spread more easily and quickly among people, causing more infections with the COVID-19 virus. And 3 variants have now been identified in the US as well as many other countries. The variants include a variant identified in the UK, a variant identified in South Africa, a variant identified in Brazil. Each one of them have a listed either PI, which would be the Brazil variant, a BI 351, which would be South Africa, and BII 7, which would be the UK variant. Now, I want to go back to something that I said about herd immunity. It would be impossible to achieve herd immunity without a vaccine. Why? Even if 5.275 people are infected, guess what's happening? The increase of reinfection occurs. So the antibodies aren't lasting long. If the antibodies aren't lasting long, that means people are just going to continuously getting reinfected. Reinfection could provide or yield further complications in your body. We'll get back to that. All viruses mutate, but 3 variants of severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2 has raised particular concerns. On January 21st, the UK New and Emerging Respiratory Virus Threats Advisory Group issued a paper outlining the results from several preliminary analyses of B117. The variant, which is highly transmissible, was initially identified in the south of England in September 2020 and has since spread to dozens of countries around the world. Another extremely infectious variant, PI, has been circulating in Brazil since the middle of 2020. This variant has been implicated in the surge of infections that has struck Manaus in the Brazilian Amazon, leaving the health care system on the brink of collapse. BI 351 was first detected in South Africa late last year. With new variants emerging, natural immunity is very unlikely. Presently, antibodies are lasting as much as 45 days and some to 90 days. Reinfection of COVID-19 has increased. Previous pandemics. Smallpox in Rome, over 5 million people died. The Byzantine Empire was ravaged by the bubonic plague, which marked the start of the decline. The plague reoccurred periodically afterward. Some estimates suggest that up to 10% of the world's population died. The Black Death traveled from Asia to Europe, leaving devastation in its wake. Some estimates suggest that it wiped out half of Europe's population. It was caused by a strand of bacterium, Yersinia pestis, that is likely extant today and was spread by fleas on infected rodents. The bodies of these victims were buried in mass graves. The infection that caused the Kokolitsli epidemic was a form of a viral hemorrhagic fever that killed 15 million inhabitants of Mexico and Central America among populations were already weakened by extreme drought. The disease proved to be utterly catastrophic. The American plagues are a cluster of European diseases brought to the Americas by European explorers. These illnesses included smallpox, contributed to the collapse of the Inca and the Aztec. Some estimates suggest that 90% of the indigenous populations in Western Hemisphere was killed off. An estimated 500 million people from South Seas to North Pole fell victim to Spanish flu. 1/5 of those died, with some indigenous communities pushed to the brink of extinction. The flu spread and lethally was enhanced by the cramped conditions of soldiers and poor wartime nutrition that many people were experiencing during World War I. Is there an alternative to vaccines? No. Food nor herbs can cause an immune response to COVID-19, nor has a proper diet ever prevented an infection or death. With new COVID-19 variants, how can food be that evolutionary to adapt, mutate, and train the immune system to defend itself? What food you know is evolutionary, where it can adapt and mutate? Herd immunity will risk millions of lives and cannot be achieved without substantial loss in human population. Herd immunity can be achieved with a vaccine. Vaccines have eradicated 14 known viruses. Again, those viruses are polio, MMR, whooping cough, chickenpox, etc., and foreign to generation W, X, Y, and Z. See, my kids, they don't know what chickenpox is, whooping cough, MMR, polio. They have no idea. And that's for a reason. See, social distancing, wearing masks, washing your hands among eating healthy would not end the pandemic nor slow down the vigilant wrath of SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19. Asymptomatic COVID patients are beginning to show signs of health issues after contracting the viruses. Issues like loss of taste and smell 6 months later after infection, COVID hide in the brain, COVID tongue, spotted hands and toes, respiratory issues like bronchitis, asthma, and more. mRNA vaccines prevent severe infection and death. As more data emerges, we are learning that immunity is lasting over a year or more. Recently, new variants have begun to emerge, increasing reinfection, which informs us that natural immunity is not an option to a novel virus. Overall conclusion. In conclusion, based on previous pandemics, the evolution of inoculations, and our current advancements in vaccine science, we can clearly see that vaccines have saved millions of lives over the last 250 years in North America. We have evidence that Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson preclinical trial data provides insight into the development of the vaccine, which shows that each are safe, effective, and did not skip any steps during its development. SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19 has also educated us in real time just how dangerous its mutations and variants causing herd immunity by infection to be seen as suicidal. And due to this information, foods, herbs, are not a solution to a massive problem that has been averaging over 4,000 deaths a month since the pandemic picked up steam. We do not have a viable alternative. And when we ask the question, if not vaccines, then what? We get an incomplete answer. Sources. We always talk about vaccine side effects in previous Science with Shawn videos, but I wanted to list exactly what healthcare sites are posting when you receive or you get the vaccine. It tells you exactly what the side effects are and the anticipation of side effects. Also, VAERS, which is a vaccine side effect data tracking system, allows you to report your your side effects. And if you have an anaphylactic response, is usually in the average of 11.1 of every 1 million doses administered. All right. So again, I wanted to run through the bonus material as I did in the presentation. Hopefully y'all saw all the new information that was in this that wasn't in the previous because of time constraints. So a new onset of diabetes in COVID-19. There's an article published in the New England Journal of Nature mentioned that talks about how COVID-19 and diabetes is relevant now. COVID tolls is relevant. We have a European Journal of Pediatric Dermatology reported 40 days after the first autonomous case of COVID-19 reported in Italy. They observed it. COVID tongue, right? That's coming from the Spain area and other areas regarding COVID tongue. And of course, everybody loves the COVID fingers, right? Craziness. And you see your skin, spotted skin. Usually you see that on people, old people already, Europeans. But you know what I'm saying? You don't see COVID fingers on people. And no, that ain't paint. And no, did nobody dip her fingers. COVID lungs, COVID heart, COVID kidneys. All have been reported. COVID brain. All right, so there's a study that was published in January regarding COVID brain. Hold on one second. All right, so the most commonly reported long-term symptoms include fatigue, shortness of breath, cough, joint pain, chest pain. Other reported long-term symptoms is difficulty with thinking and concentration, depression, muscle pain, headache, intermediate fever, fast beating or pounding heart. COVID tolls. I skipped the COVID heart and lungs because y'all already seen a lot of that, and I just wanted to go ahead and get through the sources for everybody to actually deal with that. More information will be inserted inside of this particular presentation to create an overall body of work regarding anti-vaxxers and their initiative to push the envelope with their questions. Because in this presentation, we set out to answer not only Dr. Maat's questions, but other questions that were actually brought up by doctors. And later you will see, I don't know when, but hopefully you will see in due time a conversation that me and Brother Unc had with two doctors. And hopefully you will see the replay of the debate between me and Brother Keidi. The link to that is also in the description of this particular video. Leave a comment on the video, let Dr. Maat know that you actually watched the video. And if you have any questions regarding any information that either I or Chef Keidi presented, you can ask those questions and see if we can get you answers to that. Because I'll be interested to see if anybody has that. Most of the comments on there are related to support of either me or Brother Keidi, but one in particular made some claims and said that and I'm gonna go to that. Let's deal with that real quick. Give me 1 second, and I'm gonna pull up the video. I want to show you the comment section. I find this quite interesting. All right, so this brother right here says, "Hey, Dr. Maat." He even edited. "Hey, Dr. Maat, this one was interesting. That brother Shawn has no idea what he's talking about. Shawn would be me. I wished you or Baba Awadu would have asked him what independent journalist has been reading. He been reading, right? Independent journalist, right? Okay. Because all the independent journalists that I have read disagree with him by 100%. And I'm talking about journalists like Alex Baden Meyer. That's why I said this is interesting, right? This person's supposed to be an independent journalist. Journalist now, he's not he's not an epidemiologist, virologist, or immunologist. He's a journalist. He wants me to go look at a journalist. This is who he's bringing to the community. This lady right here. Right here. That's who he's bringing. So look, thanks for getting arrested right here. Look like they're arresting him. Yep. Organic rule dispute leads to arrest. That's who he wants me to look at, right? A journalist. I'm not doing this to define anything in regard to that because I mean, when I pulled her name up, I couldn't find nothing else. So I'm trying to figure out where, if she would have anything regarding mRNA vaccines. So let's see. Gary Noel, was he on the list too? No, he wasn't. He wasn't on there. So let's check the second name. Henry Holloway. I mean, I really don't have to look these people up because he said journalist. Here we go. Australian Henry Holloway was an Australian rugby league footballer and coach. What do you got to do with medicine? Is this even him? Maybe I got the wrong person. I would be interested in trying to figure out who is the hell is he talking about? Richard Gale. I'm gonna stop. They're all journalists. Allison Dahl. These journalists have proven that Fauci has created this virus. Listen. These journalists have proven that Fauci has created this virus and was the one who sent it to China to have them work on it after Obama's administration shut him down back in 2014. I had to respond to Teddy in the chat. But when it came to talking about what natural foods can kill the virus, he had no idea what he's talking about. Here we go. Let's get it. Throughout the chat, I kept posting links to PubMed, showing that zinc green tea, olive leaf extract, elderberry does stop. He capitalizes, does stop coronavirus in the body. This is just one. He brings this up. Here's another. He brings that up. There are over 50 articles on PubMed showing you that there are natural ways to kill the virus. Now you're going to be able to kill the virus? Are you freaking? All right, so hydroxychloroquine does kill the coronavirus. Fauci has been lying. Did he read Doctor? Here we go. Let's get with this one. Bukti works on coronavirus. I want to show y'all something. Now, we didn't have to deal with this name again. Bukti is a retired Thai-German microbiologist. He became prominent exponent of ideas about coronavirus pandemic. That ran counter to scientific consensus. So let's see. Prominence during COVID. He got a YouTube channel proposing that the number of deaths stemming from SARS-CoV-2 infections have been overstated. In November 2020, his account was terminated for violating YouTube's community guidelines. So anytime you're censored for misinformation, it's a conspiracy against you, because that means that the government is lying, right? Similar to young Pseudo, who was banned from CPAC, the Republican convention that's about to take place, because he was pro-Trump. And he was using it as a money grab, and then they realized that he had been talking about Jews. Similar to that, right? This is the same thing, huh? We're supposed to believe him. He has been criticized for his thesis on the COVID-19 pandemic, according to Medical Tribune. They are considered unscientific by a majority of experts. Bauke's criticism of COVID-19 pandemic response states, all right, he wrote an open letter, posting YouTube videos, participating in writing. I'm done. Says here, describe Fauci as a prominent example from a crop of debunked but credentialed so-called experts, meaning conspiracy theories and undermining fact-based information. The German nonprofit corrected fact-checked one of Fauci's YouTube videos and found a number of problematic claims, including the claim a COVID-19 vaccine would be pointless and that the virus posed no more threat than influenza. Writing for Foreign Policy, Tyson Barker, head of DGAP's Technology and Global Affairs program, described Fauci as a prominent example from a crop, and we see this every day, a crop of debunked but credentialed so-called experts, meaning conspiracy theories and undermining fact-based information. Let's continue. He says, I didn't read dude's work, right? I don't appeal to authority, right? I don't appeal to authority. So reading his work would do what? Make me go read some other work, right? No, I didn't read his work, never know anything about him. I was reading the experts in the field. Now, to a person that does not read the medical journals and listens to the underground news, Shawn sounded like a damn genius. But to those of us who know the independent works by journalists, Shawn sounded like a fool. That's why Keidi Awadu got upset. That ain't why he got upset. He got upset because he looked in the chat. I have the actual message that tells me that he said that I was not only respectful, and it wasn't about my information, it was the chat. Why he lost his cool. So that kills you right there, dead in the water, brother King Hercules. Secondly, Your conspiracy theorists ain't gonna work. And I'm gonna get to your sources here in just a minute. And you said that I didn't know anything. Well, sir, I showed sources from the Lancet, New England Journal of Medicine, Nature. Those are the top 3 in the field of science. Those are medical journals. I use clinical trial data from clinicaltrials.gov. Oh, I went a little bit too deep, huh? I guess I ain't reading the medical journals you talking about. Then look, he goes on to say this. Finally, I have to say this is what Dr. Amos Wilson calls the Frankenstein syndrome. White people create a monster and they put it in the charge to kill the monster. Thousands of black people died because they choose to listen to white America. They choose to believe in the government. When we are going to stop riding on white America's coattails. So now it's about a white America now. Oh yeah, y'all know I got busy. I simply respond first. Did you read? You just talking. Your source. So now I'm going to his source, ladies and gentlemen. His first source. Recent studies have revealed the possible binding sites presented SARS-CoV-2 and studied their interactions with T, polyphenols, EGCG, and theoflavins, especially theoflavins 3, 3 digalanti, TF3, have shown a significant interaction with receptors under consideration in this review. Some docking studies further emphasize on the activity of these polyphenols against COVID-19. Some docking studies further emphasize. So let's go to his first article he posted. Here's his article. Background purpose method. Results. I just read them to you. Conclusion. This review summarizes the available reports and evidence which support the use of T and polyphenols as potential candidates in prophylactics and treatment of COVID-19. Come on, man. All right. Deal with that one. Next. There are insufficient data to recommend either for or against the use of zinc for treatment of COVID-19. The COVID-19 treatment guidelines panel recommends against using zinc supplementation above the recommended dietary allowance for the prevention of COVID-19, except in clinical trials. You're the source. That ain't his source for his other claim, but he got a source. I gave it to him right there from the NIH. Why are they telling you that there's insufficient data? For his second claim, oh, it gets better. Don't tell me I have no idea. I'm very familiar, brother. Learn to read more sources than those you Google search and support your biases. You didn't know that they have done randomized controlled double-blind trials on the zinc, vitamin C, and D. So you didn't know that. So I put the question mark. So here go the analysis from that. The analysis included the study. There go the people and here go the data right here dealing with hydroxychloroquine, right? So conclusion, post-exposure therapy with hydroxychloroquine did not prevent SARS-CoV-2 infection or systematic COVID-19 in healthy persons exposed to PCR positive case patients. Throw it out the window. That's one source. And then another one for all his other points right here to back him up. So we already know that the clinical trials done for zinc, vitamin C, and D are in the New England Journal of Nature. That data is not even prevalent. Look, I give them the clinicaltrials.gov number and all that to get busy with it. Not playing no games. I found this unique. But I found this one even more unique. What is this thing? Here we go. Where's she at? This sister was respectful, Sheena Fox, but she with Keidi Awadu, regardless of the argument, she's just against vaccines. So she ain't even giving herself a chance. She out the gate with that. All right. So Keidi hit it on the nail. No vaccine is safe. She's just unintelligent. This person here, she didn't even pay attention. So, Sean P. Hi, Melissa. You're telling me that my creator put me in an environment without a natural defense? My creator. Your creator is a bacteria, microbe, virus. See, without all that, we ain't even here. And now I have to wait for the man to create it. So can you tell me how my ancestors made it? Listen, how my ancestors made it here from trillions of years ago. Her ancestors made it here on Earth from trillions of years ago. It gets better. And do you really think the numbers you got are right and exact? You must, she meant of, you must have, you think their drugs are. You must if you think their drugs are. Sorry. Next, you're going to say you believe people that don't get the shot are the ones causing the disease. No, my guy, stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Your creator sounds religious. I don't drink Kool-Aid. Kept that simple. I'll never say people who get the shot are the people causing the spread of the disease. Duh, it's obvious. Because a virus needs a host. So if you're not vaccinated against it, and if enough people around you are not vaccinated against it, I ain't gotta say it. However, to answer the creator part of it, hadn't been for the viruses, bacteria, etc., you wouldn't exist. Next, humans aren't trillions of years old. I meant to put, and I need to edit it, but Homo sapiens sapien is 350,000 years old, sister. Prior to that, hominids go back only 4.4 million years, and that's already. I hope that you would seek to understand what I'm saying more by not being dismissive and believing things that you don't have substantial, credible knowledge of. You're in the chat, Indonesia. That boy, that crazy. So yeah, we appreciate everybody that has viewed it and thumbed up the video and continues to support and things of that nature. Hopefully y'all will catch the replay coming soon. But I found the chat pretty amazing from some of the responses, 3 or 4 of the people in there with their responses. Y'all want me to go back and see what his article say? He just Googled something randomly and threw it up there. And you don't have to read the articles. You just look at review the data. See, the potential impacts of zinc supplementation on COVID-19 pathogenesis. This was from July 10th, 2020. The source that I provided for him regarding zinc was this year because they did a randomized trial. So I don't need that data. I'm not dismissive of that data to understand what he was trying to do. But we had already been talking about zinc, vitamin C, and so forth. Right? We've already did this. And see, there's a clinical trial right here for it. So I'm not making any of this stuff up. And the results are in. You see, it keeps saying results. And I just cut it short. Like the results say that, man, they didn't find anything. It was like a waste of time. They halted the study. They halted the study. This is zinc and hydroxychloroquine. They halted the study. So I didn't even need to go through all of this because we knew that they were trying to use zinc. What they were trying to prevent was death, severe infection. They were looking for ways to prevent. And you know, that's just that. So I was familiar with what he was posted. But he couldn't have been familiar with what I put up because what I threw at him, we already talked about on Science with Shawn. See? A cluster randomized trial of hydroxychloroquine for the prevention of COVID-19. You got to know this stuff exists. This year, you got to know this stuff exists, man. That whole year, they were doing trial and error stuff. So he presented an argument based on trial and error stuff that the field of science has advanced from. And this gentleman, he wanted to act like I didn't know what the hell I was talking about because he is a fanboy of Keidi Awadu. Not necessarily just a fanboy, but he is one of the biggest things I hate for people to be, a personality worshiper of Keidi Awadu, Dr. Sebi, and Layla Africa. Right? Who are all deceased, by the way. But this guy somehow gonna live to 110, 120 years old and go be doing 220 push-ups, whatever he says. Okay. Don't catch COVID. So let me see what the shenanigans is in the chat. Oh man, I got through that whole presentation in an hour. That was dope. Okay. And then we did the little follow-up on Dr. Maats chat comments. Yeah, that was super hard. Okay, so this is bite size. I'm gonna try to keep the video bite size so people can actually review it. Desmond says, remember that guy talking about M6A modified RNA? He must not have read his own source because that's dealing with cancer and had nothing to do with vaccines. He just saw modified and ran. Absolutely, Desmond. Absolutely. One lady told me, Shawn, an ear was gonna grow, or an ear was gonna grow on my foot if it's take the vaccine. Oh man. Let's just say she quacked out for telling me that. Yeah. Pretty much. It's just comic book crap with pseudos. Yeah. But yeah, man, I mean, we have to think about what's going on right now. Like we're in the middle of a pandemic, and every day new information has become available to us. Hold on, I'll put my shirt on. And that data that has become available to us is allowing us to be able to advance knowledge. And in the advancement of knowledge, we're able to actually grow with the science as we learn. Yep. By the way, that was 67 slides, and I did it less than an hour. I did it in like 40 minutes or so. That's a hell of an argument. And I still could have did a little bit better. There was more information that was prevalent and relevant to it, but you know, we're going to keep it that way. So anybody got any questions regarding anything that I actually presented? I mean, a lot of y'all that are in the chat are usually here when we do Science with Shawn anyway. So when I start talking, a lot of this becomes repetitive to you because you're familiar with what's actually going on because y'all been walking with us throughout this whole process. And I say us because it's more than just me. It's, you know, pseudo killers, the whole pseudo killers, and you know what I mean. And I don't know who else is in the fight with us, but I know we you know, Sabu Jawu and Then you got Unbiased. You know what I mean? When he in a fight, but you kind of, you bring him into that circle as well. It's a small amount of us right now. But I'm just going back looking at the comments. Yeah, I'm telling you, your great granny concoction will not work against SARS-CoV-2 / COVID-19. Garlic and honey don't work either. Lemon and honey don't work either. Vicks and ginger ale, nope. Boy, y'all crazy. You can take it though. Corey said, you're a funny guy. So I heard it's good for cancer. Yeah. But dude tried to make it look like I didn't know what I was talking about. I did feel disrespected. I ain't gonna lie to you. You know what I'm saying? Because for the last few years, I've been dealing with this vaccine stuff, and for a dude to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, well then just correct me where I'm wrong at. You know what I mean? But the dude told me to go read journalists, not experts in the field of virology, epidemiology, and you know what I'm saying, and immunology. He said, go read journalists. And then he named the journalists. And then he said, all these journalists have proven Fauci. So let me go back and let me see if I can pull up this first lady. Alexis, whatever her name is. And I don't care what Fauci says. Fauci told me don't trust him either. He told me trust the science. Now I ain't got Twitter, so here she go. A short history of how Anthony Fauci has kept failing us since 1984, and then this happens. They suspended her account, so she ain't on Twitter. So let's see what this is. Forced vaccination is becoming one of the most significant civil rights issues of the 21st century. She's anti-vax. She ain't even biased, yo. She ain't even, look, it's all anti-vax crap. They ain't even biased. I mean, they are biased. They you know, they showing it by look. Research. So we already know it's all anti the establishment. We ain't got to do that. Like what we could do is if we gonna deal with somebody, let's deal with somebody that's an independent researcher, an independent scientist, an independent epidemiologist. You deal with that. Deal with the doctors, man. We ain't got to deal with that. Alliance for Natural Health. Look, there's the agenda, natural health. Hydroxychloroquine. Man, does she know the side effects of hydroxychloroquine? Hydroxychloroquine is useless. We just did that. The man told me to read journalists, yo. Sutek. Let me put it back on the screen. This is classic. This is the best. This is better than Danny's video, Every Nigga's a Star. This beats Danny. I don't know if you listen to this because I know you really don't listen to nothing we do, but he just trumped your response to me. Your Every Nigga's a Star song that you posted as a response to the, my NOI stuff. He beat you. He beat you. That don't mean nothing. This kills all this. Because all the independent journalists that I have read disagree with him by 100%. But they supposed to be independent. None of these journalists are independent if they're showing up on anti-vax websites and all their rhetoric is anti-vaccine or presenting a alternative medicine that has not been proven successful via clinical trial data. But he says because all the independent journalists that I have read disagree with him 100%. Let's start it over. Sutek, my brother, he says, hey, Dr. Maat, this one was interesting. That brother Shawn has no idea what he's talking about. I wish you and Keidi Awadu would have asked him what independent journalist has he been reading. I wish they would have asked me that too, because I would have sit there and said, journalist? Why the hell am I going to read a journalist about a virus? How about a virologist? Because all the independent journalists that I have read disagree with him by 100%. And I'm talking about the journalists like Alex Baden-Meyer, Henry Holloway, Richard Gale, Alison McDowell. These journalists have proven that Fauci has created the virus and was the one who sent it to China to have them work on it after Obama's administration shut him down back in 2014. Peace, Ricardo. That's right, Sutik. Put that on the screen right there. I like it. It's facts. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Let's look at Alison McDowell. Maybe she ain't got kicked off Twitter or something. Because it seems like that's the only place where we can find these independent people, these independent journalists, is on Twitter. Here we go. Look at this spook. Let's see what she's talking about. Where's she at? Pepco does the dirty work of the U.S. empire. Hands off Venezuela. Let's see if we can find something. Her name is in this claim. Here you go. Adult Social Care Director Alison McDowell said these included illnesses and mental capacity issues. All right, so let's read this. COVID-19 Newcastle care vaccination claim wrong. So this is from the BBC. It says, not all of Newcastle's care home residents have had a COVID vaccine, despite an announcement they had. Newcastle City Council Trust said on Friday the city was among the first places in the UK to vaccinate all care home residents, but all media, academic, and business leaders has been told some were unable to get a jab for various reasons. Adult Social Care Director Alison McDowell said these include illnesses and mental capacity issues. Vaccinations have taken place, blah, 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 and going on. There were mop-up sessions for anyone still waiting, Ms. McDowell said, but I absolutely understand. So this ain't really saying much. Ain't saying nothing. This can't be the same one, same person you're looking for. Nope, see? It's a different person. Well, I ain't about to go chase him down the pipe for some journalist. The man told me journalist. Oh, I think he was talking about how y'all was responding in the chat room to him. So whatever he was kicking, he was having issues with it because y'all didn't like what he was kicking. So he took offense. No, Teddy. No, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know. You being smart now. You being smart now. Shawn, if the virus was man-made, wouldn't they knew what lab it was created in because of the technology? See, you trying to be too smart, Teddy. You trying to outsmart him. You know what I'm saying? Remember, he said Fauci made the virus and then took it to China. That's what he said. But man, look, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Trying to figure out what's going on, y'all. The brother said that Fauci made the COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2. Now, I guess he disregarded all the evidence. I guess he did. I ain't crazy. I guess he disregarded all the evidence from independent researchers that stated that the virus was not created in the lab. I guess he just ignored all of that, right? Because remember, he's reading the top journalists. Peace and Neb. So Neb, this dude told me in the chat, bro. He said that if you missed it, he said that I need to be reading independent journalists on the subject matter of vaccines, Fauci, and all these medicines. Journalists, not the people in the field, the experts in the field, but journalists. And Fauci created the virus. These are the type of people that personality worshiping develops and creates. This is crazy, yo. So, man, I'm not gonna hold everybody up, man. I'm gonna keep this bite size. 40 minutes was the presentation. The rest of it, we just kicked it a little bit, and we dealt with some comments in Dr. Maats' session. Yeah, they too smart for their own good, bro. Yeah, and I want people to be able to digest it, go back and replay it if necessary. This was a me just basically getting that presentation out. Now that it's done and it's filed, we can move on from it, and hopefully we can come back and we can start discussing the multitude of videos that we have now and conversations that we had with doctors. So on that note, I'm gonna say Shimim Hotel, and appreciate everybody for tuning in. Please like the show, share the show, tell a friend. You might catch us later. We might get into some BHM. You know what I mean?
Log in to KofiPaisaTV.com and get Spears of the Mossy Volume 1 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, from Spears the Pen Volume 2 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, Spiritual Combat Volume 3 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, One Night Before Bed by Any Harek Shawn Calfunny, Kalawa's Trip to the Motherland by Kofi Paisa, From Cocaine to Consciousness by Any Harek Shawn Calfunny, As I Learned, We All Learn by Kofi Paisa. Also, if you want fresh merch, go to our online store, Family Connect Apparel, and get all the brands. Also, Get our 54 deck of quiz and educational cards available now on KofiPaisaTV.com.